I asked AI how to knit a hat, and now I will follow all the instructions blindly. At the same time, I will knit another self-drafted hat using the same yarn. And at the end, we will compare them and decide who designs a better hat, AI or me. I have 2 years of knitting experience, but AI has access to all the digital information, so we will see. I have 2 skeins of BC Garn Loch Lomond. It is 100% organic wool. I will use 1 skein for the AI hat and 1 skein for my self-drafted hat. I asked Claude to give me instructions on how to knit a hat. Here is my prompt. Give me instructions on how to knit a hat using the yarn BC Garn Loch Lomond. I have 1 skein 50 grams. My hat circumference is 56 centimeters. I want a folded beanie. The hat should be knitted in a stockinette stitch, but the cuff should be knitted in 2x2 ribbing. What was the answer? First, it gives me some information about the yarn. Then it warns that maybe 1 skein is not enough, but I think 1 skein is enough for a hat. Then it asks to make a swatch. I already had a swatch in 2x2 ribbing on 3.5mm needles. And I sent it. My gauge is 16 stitches in 10 centimeters. But it says that it's not enough. It wants me to make a swatch in stockinette stitch on 4mm needles. And I did it. My gauge is 16.5 stitches in 10 centimeters. And now the instruction. I should cast on 96 stitches on 3.5mm needles using long tail or German twisted cast on. I think long tail is not stretchy enough for a hat, so I will use German twisted cast on. Then join the round and work knit 2 purl 2 until the rib measures 12 centimeters. Okay, it's pretty clear. Now let me speak about my hat. As I have already told you, I knitted a swatch in 2x2 ribbing on 3.5mm needles and my gauge is 16 stitches. My hat circumference is 56 centimeters, so it is 89.6 stitches. A hat should suit tight. It should have a negative freeze about 10%, so it is 80.64 stitches now. And the number of stitches must be a multiple of 4 since I will knit in 2x2 ribbing. So I'll cast on 80 stitches on 3.5mm needles. And I would like to try a tubular cast on for the first time. So at the beginning we already have a difference. AI says to cast on 96 stitches and I will cast on 80 stitches for my hat. AI suggests to use German twisted cast on and I will use tubular cast on. So let's knit. I finished both the brims. Here they are. This is mine and this is AI's. So obviously you can see that my brim is smaller since I cast on 16 stitches less than the AI's hat. Also there is different cast on. To be honest, I don't know which one is better. I like that tubular cast on is thicker, I think it looks better. But on the other hand, since I knitted in 2x2 ribbing, I had to switch stitches, to switch from 1x1 ribbing to 2x2 ribbing. So that's why you can see that the stitches are leaning. So it doesn't look very neat and tidy. They are both very stretchy. So Claude said to knit 12 centimeters and I knitted them. For my hat I knitted about 7 centimeters in 2x2 ribbing. Then I did a fixed fold line. It's very easy to make. You have to purl your purl stitches and slip your knit stitches with the yarn on the back. You get this fold line, which is fixed. I decided that it's more convenient because sometimes when you fold your head, you have different heights in different places of your head. So I decided to try a fixed fold line. So you can see that there is a line where it is easier to fold your head. So, and you will have a similar brim height everywhere. On the other hand, here you can change the line where you fold your brim. So maybe today you would like to have a wider cuff. You can make it like this, and maybe the next day you would like shorter cuff and you can make it like this. So it is a more versatile. I think it is just your preference. And after making this fold line, I started knitting in stockinette stitch because I decided that I don't really need to have 2x2 ribbing inside, because I think that stockinette stitch maybe feels more convenient than the ribbing for your head, but who knows. So now I'll continue knitting in stockinette stitch on both heads. Speaking about the AI head, it says that I should switch to 4mm needles and work one round, knit 6, knit 2 together, and instead of 96 stitches I will get 84 stitches. And I should knit in stockinette stitch until the piece measures about 21 centimeters from the cast on edge. It's interesting because I wouldn't change needles for my head. I will continue knitting on 3.5mm needles. I think it's better when a head is tighter, so it is warmer. And I wouldn't do any decreases. Let's continue knitting. I'm knitting the AI head and I'm thinking about the decreases I had to make. So we had 96 stitches on the cuff and then we decreased 12 stitches when we switched to the main part of the head. And it sounds a bit strange because usually your cuff should be tighter than the main part. But here the main part of the head will be tighter than the cuff, and I don't know, have you ever made such constructions? Because I haven't. But we'll see. I wouldn't try the AI head until I finish it because I want to keep the suspense until the end. And I decided since I wouldn't change anything in the AI head, it doesn't make sense to try it on. So that's why I'll try it on only when I finish it. I finished plain stockinette part for both heads. This is my head and this is AI head. Here is the difference between my head and AI head. So AI head is much bigger. I needed stockinette stitch until my head measures 20 centimeters and I knitted stockinette stitch on the AI head until it measures 21 centimeters. So it is pretty similar. I still don't really understand that we did decreases for the AI head when we switched to the stockinette stitch. So now I'm starting making decreases. For my head I will divide all the stitches into 4 parts and I think I will make decreases. So I will choose 4 stitches which are like the main stitches and I will make decreases on both sides of these main stitches. So I'll decrease 8 stitches in one row and then I think I will need maybe 3 rows without decreases. But I will try and I will see whether I like it or not. And what about the AI head? Let me check it. So Claude says knit a plain round between each decrease round for a rounded crown. And it gives the schema for decreases. In the first decrease row we knit 5, knit 2 together around. Then we knit 4, knit 2 together. The next decrease row is knit 3, knit together, and so on. And at the end we knit 2 together. And the finishing. Cut a 15 cm tail, thread through the remaining 12 stitches, pull tight, fasten off inside with an end thread block. So let's move on to the decreases part. I finished both heads, and it's funny, but each head took exactly 37 grams. So in my head you can see there are 4 stitch lines, and I did decreases around these stitches, so before the stitch and after the stitch. So I did 8 decreases in one row, and I made decreases every 4th row. Let me try it on. I think it looks very nice. I'm happy with the result. It suits tight enough, but not too tight. I think it will be pretty warm. And I'm happy how it looks like. And now let's move on to the AI head. You can see that it wrinkles because the decreases were made very quickly. And I don't like such heads. I think it doesn't look very neat and tidy. But let's try it on. I will try it on for the first time. Actually, it looks better than I expected. I thought this part with decreases will be very weird, but I think it looks nice. Of course, it doesn't suit as tight because there were more stitches, and maybe it would be cold. But to be honest, I thought that it would look like worse. I think it's fine. It was an interesting experiment, and we can see that AI gave clear instructions on how to knit a head. We have a finished head, and it suits maybe not perfect, but fine. But of course I prefer my head because it suits tighter and it looks better, in my opinion. But what do you think? Maybe you prefer AI head? Which head do you like more? And if you also have some ideas what else can be compared, I mean AI version versus my design, please also write in the comments, and maybe I will use these ideas for my future videos. Thank you for watching this video, and see you in my next video. Bye bye!